Well, Australia is well known for having a significant number of venomous snakes. In New South Wales, the number of reported bites has increased exponentially since the start of summer. In the last 3 months, there were 320 calls for help, which is a 35% increase on the previous year. 61 of those bites were recorded in children. Experts say there could be a number of potential reasons behind the increase. So to talk us through it is Dr. Christina Zdenek from the Australian Reptile Academy. Christina, welcome to ABC News.
Thank you.
A 35% increase in snakebite calls seems like a pretty steep jump. What do you think is behind this?
It's certainly a very complex issue. So there's many things involved, such as habitat destruction, leaving snakes without a home, and that might increase encounters with humans. There's also what people's perceptions of snakes are, and therefore their response to seeing a snake. Are they trying to remove it themselves? Are they trying to kill a snake? Which of course increases their risk of a snake bite. And their general knowledge of snakes and what to do. For instance, if they think there's a bite, then they should be ringing 000 and going to hospital in case it is a bite. And so knowledge like this could be partly responsible for the increase. It could be weather related as well. We know that there's a lot of rain that's been happening. And, although we don't have good data on population numbers over time because the government doesn't fund that much snake research, what we can say based on ecological principles and snake biology, that with more rain, that generally increases the carrying capacity of the environment. And therefore, there's probably more prey around, and the snakes could have more of a boom year compared with other years.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is this a jump that we've only really seen in the last 12 months or so, or has this sort of been a steady increase over the last few years?
The data that I've seen from the Poisons Information Centre that you're talking about here, I know that it's been 2 years in a row with New South Wales and also with Queensland, mind you, albeit not as dramatic of an increase. So there's a 35% increase last year in New South Wales, and in Queensland that number is actually 16.5%. So we are seeing a trend in that direction for both states. I'm trying to actually work on getting data from other states to try to get a better sense of what's happening nationally. But I suppose, with this increase, it's a good time to remember how to be snake safe. And you just need to give snakes space and be aware of your surroundings. So going outside on a warmer summer's night, you want to have a light on, that sort of thing. And certainly going bushwalking or down the paddock to wear shoes, protective clothing, and always definitely have a snakebite bandage on hand just in case you need to use it. And that's just wrapping the whole limb tightly and then immobilizing and standing still. That's our first aid. And we've got great antivenom in Australia, so nobody really should be dying from snakebite in Australia.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how concerned should we be? What is the likelihood of sort of serious illness or death from a snake bite?
It's actually very low in Australia. So it's about 2 to 10 people. On average, about 3 people per year we lose to snake bite. And now, to put that into perspective, you're 400 times more likely to die from a car accident than a snake bite. So it's really fear that drives a lot of people's perceptions when it comes to snakes. And it would be really good if people can open up their minds to realizing the benefits of snakes, whether it be using snake venom to produce therapeutic drugs or diagnostic tools like to diagnose lupus, for instance, but also the benefit that they provide for farmers in that the snakes are consuming hundreds of rats and mice every year, including the breeding females down in the ground, which the owls on the surface aren't able to reach. So they provide 24/7 vermin control for us. So they're a very important part of the ecosystem. And the quicker we can learn to coexist and learn how to live amongst these animals, I think the better off we'll be.
And Christina, with this increase in snakes that we're seeing, do you have an idea of what kind of snakes we're seeing more of?
Look, we don't have the data on that. Again, it's not paid for, so we're not tracking. There's only like two long-term snake projects in all of Australia, despite how large of a continent and how many snakes we do have in this country. But I would venture a guess to say that it is brown snakes, and that is because brown snakes do well in suburban areas because they eat, the introduced European house mouse that does really well around humans. And so it's probably brown snakes. They're very adaptable species. So that's the genus Pseudonia, and it'd be the eastern brown snake in New South Wales specifically, which is definitely a highly venomous snake. But keep in mind, it does only have very small fangs. So we're talking 1 to 2 millimeters in length. So if you do wear that protective clothing, personal protective equipment, you're giving yourself the upper hand there. And the snake is only going to bite in absolute last resort defense, right? So snakes are cowards by default, and they will absolutely try to evade the situation. In fact, it's somewhere between 1 and 3% of snake encounters, actually. It's only that percentage, very small, where it results in the snake defending itself. Otherwise, they just stand still, trying to just hide, or they'll actually go away. And we don't see most of the snakes that we actually encounter. So that's something to keep in mind for people, I think.
Dr. Christina Zdenek from the Australian Reptile Academy there. Thanks so much for your insights.
My pleasure.